the numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host Bob Zerl, and I'm alone again in not Landmine Studios, Deadbug Studios, as Eric is still off. My guest this week is Mark Tremonti. He's back on the podcast from the band Alter Bridge. They got the new album Walk the Sky. It's out now. They just announced the tour dates for 2020. I can't wait for this tour. They are coming close, so hopefully I can get out and see them. But before we get there, I want to let you know where you can find us. We're on zpnetwork.com, zoixonline.com, Facebook at the Nothing Shocking Podcast Community Fan Page, and our Twitter handle is No Shock Pod. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all your podcatchers, Alexa. Subscribe to the show, rate and review the show, and we'll read your reviews on the air. Our sponsors are Ragged Records and Legends Picks. And then I want to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for letting us use their music on the show. They've got an upcoming event, December 14th, Rock and Roll for Kids, Part 2. It's live with the Forum in Macomb, Illinois, featuring formerly the Fox, As Big as a Mouse, our other friends in Northbrook, and then obviously the Hong Kong Sleepover are headlining. It's all ages, 7 p.m. till midnight. It's a great cause. There's St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Please go and help support our friends in the Hong Kong Sleepover and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. It's going to be a great show, and I can't wait to see it. Before we get to my guest, Mark Tremonti from the band Alter Bridge, I went and saw a show this week, not kind of off out of our genre a little bit, with Jimmy Eat World. They played in East Moline, down the street from us at the Rust Belt venue. I'd never been there before, and it was a cool little, neat little venue. Holds about 5,000 people, and for East Moline, that's pretty big. The Rust Belt's very neat. It's kind of like a tube, but there's a lot of space. It was a really cool venue, and Jimmy Eat World, they've got a new album out called Surviving, and I actually like it quite a bit. The song Criminal Energy, I think, is one of my favorite songs they've ever done, and they've been around since, the late 90s. But it was a really good show. They played a lot off Surviving, and I wasn't disappointed. I didn't need to hear all the stuff off of Bleed America. I didn't need to hear the early stuff. I was really excited to hear the new stuff, and they did play Criminal Energy. All the Way Stays, another song I like a lot off the new album. It was a really, really good show. I was pleasantly surprised. A great audience. They showed up, and that's what we need. We need more rock music, and I know some of my metal friends would be like, Jimmy Eat World, but no, they're a great band. It really is a compromise. I saw a lot of people with their metal shirts on. I saw a lot of my kind of hipster friends. It was a kind of the perfect combination of crowd. It's the ultimate compromise band, at least among my friends. Jimmy Eat World is. So it was a great show. I think their song 555 is going to be a huge hit, which is saying something for a band in their mid-40s. I can hear that all over the radio. And it's only been out a couple weeks, but I think that's going to put them on another level. I think it could even be bigger than the Middle when all is said and done. But what do I know? I'm just a rock guy. But overall, I truly enjoyed the show. I played all the songs I wanted to hear. I still think Blister is probably their best song ever. They played that. It was a great, great show, and I'm so happy I got to go see it. And I'm glad they came to the Quad Cities, because you don't get a lot of bands at that level that come here unless they're opening for a big band at our arena. So thank you, Jimmy Eat World for stopping by. Thank you for RCA Records for hooking us up and getting us to the show. And go get the new album, Surviving. I bought it on my Apple Music, through Apple Music, and I've also bought a vinyl. I bought it twice. Really good album. I'm curious to see, on the next album if this, I really liked Invented a few album cycles ago. I think it was like 3 albums ago. I really liked that album a lot, and they didn't play anything off of that, which is fine because the set list was fantastic. But, I wonder, like, as good as Surviving is, this late in their career, will it survive the next tour or the next album cycle tour or the next 2 album cycle tours? I think it will. I really do think Criminal Energy is a really good upbeat song to have. I think All the Way Stay is, and 555, like I said, I think it's going to be that hit similar to The Middle that could make this a really huge album. So go pick up Surviving and catch Jimmy Eat World on tour if you can. Also on tour coming up next year, Alter Bridge. They are out with the album Walk the Sky, and I have Mark Tremonti on the show to talk about the album. One of my favorite guitar players of all time, and it was just a total honor to talk to him. So without wasting any more of your time, let's throw it over to Mark Tremonti and the band Alter Bridge.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm a big fan. The new album, Walk the Sky, is out now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but for this album, instead of working up the songs together, you and Miles more or less had to bring in completed songs and into the recording process. Is that how it happened this time?
Yeah, because we only had 5 weeks of time to record, so we were kind of forced to do that this time around.
Was it a nice change of pace, or was it more of a necessary inconvenience?
In the moment, it was kind of an inconvenience because it was kind of stressful only having that amount of time to work on something. But I think in the long run, it helped it to be a stronger record, so that's all that matters.
Is there advantages to having a short window to make an album in terms of, preventing you from overthinking, or is that something that's not really a thing?
No, I think the only advantage was that we worked our asses off beforehand because we knew we had such a short window to be over-prepared for when we got to the tracking portion of it.
On this album, you guys have incorporated, more keyboards and synth sounds. What, influenced that direction on the album?
I came across a band called Gunship that had a song on the radio called Tech Noir that I really, really dug. And then I showed it to Miles, said how much I liked it and wanted to kind of incorporate that in what we're doing. And he loved the idea, and we ran with it.
Was it a difficult thing making it blend in? Because it sounds like it blends perfect in with the Alter Bridge sound. Was that something that you guys had to work towards, or did it happen pretty naturally?
No, it all takes a lot of work, but there was never any moment where it didn't sound good and we had to massage it into it. It just sounded good right off the bat.
You guys have always been a great live band, and as far as I know, never really played the backing tracks. When you're playing, when you're getting ready to play a song like that live, I know you don't really have a keyboard player in the band. Are you going to do like the Rush thing where you play with your feet, or are you guys bringing somebody in to play those songs live, or are you going to incorporate backing tracks?
We bring our guitar. My guitar tech we have a keyboard up there, and he plays those keyboard parts.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts on backing tracks? Is that something that we could ever see you guys do, or is that is that a bad thing for rock and roll right now, or is it just kind of to each their own?
My view on it is if you see a person on stage that's not doing something that's coming out of the audio on that instrument, I don't dig that. Like, I don't dig backing vocals or backtracks on guitars or drums or bass guitar. But as far as something that doesn't exist,
right,
that's obviously not being played on stage, like if you hear a damn cow mooing, obviously you can put that, put that on a backing track. But if it's a vocal, I think that's something that I would never stand behind,
Yeah. Do you think about the live performance when you're writing? I mean, I ask this because, like I said, like you mentioned, you're not a backing track band. Is that something that you try to make sure you can reproduce everything on stage, or do you not really even consider the live performance until later on?
Yeah, no, we play these songs live before we, to get ready to track, so we know how they're going to sound live before we even start. The only time that comes into effect where you're kind of making sure you can do stuff is when, sometimes you'll have a spot where you need to lay a vocal down because the producer thinks that there's a dead space. And if you haven't practiced singing and playing that spot, sometimes live, you got to, sometimes it doesn't work out. So you've got to do what's best to cover your tracks or just not sing that part or whatever else. But you never know until you're done tracking what you can actually pull off. If you haven't done it already before in pre-production. We try to cover all of our bases in pre-production.
You guys have been working with the same producers for a while now. Is that just kind of, have they just pretty much become a fifth band member? I mean, how has that relationship evolved over the years?
Yeah, no, we just have a really great relationship, and we trust one another and respect one another, and it's just it's been great. We wouldn't think about going anywhere else.
You guys, I mean, every band has kind of a specific sound, but for Alter Bridge, I feel like it's a pretty diverse sound. You guys can go heavy, you can go fast, slow, and melodic. When you're writing, is there a limit to what the Alter Bridge sound is for you, or do you just kind of keep trying to push the boundaries if there are any?
We always try to push boundaries. You don't want to keep everybody guessing. That's every record we try to add something different. And with this record, it was songs like "Pay No Mind" and "Godspeed" and a few others that used the synth wave kind of sound. And luckily, we've landed on our feet, and people have enjoyed the changes.
One of the neat things about that is then you can go tour with a wide variety of artists. Is there, do you guys think strategy at all, or is it all creative all the time? I mean, the reason I ask these questions is I come from an accounting background, so I'm kind of more of a boring, straight-ahead guy. But I always kind of wondered, is there, do you think strategy in terms of the business end at all, ever, or is it pretty much just creating?
No, I mean, we have to be intelligent and know what we're doing at all times, because this business is changing every day, and you have to make smart decisions. So we don't just bury our heads in the sand. We
right.
We do our best to stay aware of what's going on.
And you mentioned business changing, and it seems like a lot of bands have multiple bands and projects going on, and you guys are no exception to that. All of you have several different projects and bands, especially over the last 10 years. So but Alter Bridge has really kept up a consistent release schedule, and you hear about bands getting burnt out and needing a break as a whole, but with all the different things you're doing, does that prevent you from getting burnt out on the band?
Yeah, every time we come back to Alter Bridge after we've, spent a year and a half doing our other projects, it's like the band starting all over again, so it keeps it fresh for sure. I know the way it happened, Miles got slashed, but in general, is having multiple things going on, is that kind of a necessity in today's musical environment to really, be successful? No, it's not a necessity. It's just, for me as an artist, I love being creative, and it's just a way to get out more music. I love writing music, and I couldn't even fathom being in the single band for my entire career. It's just you can be so much more creative when you have multiple outputs, multiple outlets.
One of the other cool things for the fans' perspective, at least, with the music industry changing, is these VIPs and meet and greets have really become they've become affordable, and they've also become really neat and accessible to most bands. And I know you guys have a great meet and greet package. You got your own little guitar thing that you do. How much fun is adding that into the, into your, I don't know your arsenal, I guess, having the meet and greets?
I love it. It keeps me, it keeps me busy. I'm busy all day long, every day. And I see a lot of other bands, and a lot of people just kind of sit around playing on their phones all day long. And there's a lot of great musicians as well that sit around and practice their instrument all day, which is killer. But I have the best of both worlds, where I can stay busy and practice on my instrument, teaching guitar, teaching songwriting, talking to fans, and not just sitting around idle all day long, because it's easy to become that way, because there's a lot of sitting around if you're on tour. A lot of bands wake up whenever the hell they want, and just some of them don't even sound check and don't even do anything until showtime. So it's it's just a lot of idle time where you could be getting stuff done. So I like to stay if I'm away from my kids, I'm going to be working.
Yeah, and on the flip side to all the access that fans have today is, when we were growing up, there was a lot of mystery behind the bands. We didn't know, did Jimmy Page worship the devil? We had to read magazines, and so they added, we were putting these, our rock stars up on a pedestal, and that's kind of gone. Now we have access through social media, these meets and greets, and as a fan, not as an artist, but as a fan, what do you think you'd prefer, the mystery or the access?
It's hard to say now that I'm older, but when I was younger, I sure would have loved to have been able to meet more of the people that I worshipped as a fan. I only got to meet, when I was a kid, Megadeth, which was awesome, and I'll never forget it. But it was the only meet and greet I ever got to go to at a record store, and everybody else was untouchable. Even the mystery of seeing the live show. I remember being a kid and thinking of all these heavy metal bands and how mysterious and hardcore their shows must have been. Now you just get on YouTube and you can check out anything you want at any time of day. It's completely different world, but I don't know. I don't know what I'd prefer. It's just, there's a magic that used to be there that with that mystery that's not there anymore. But is it better or worse? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. It does seem like concerts used to be an event, and now, you guys, you're huge overseas in Europe, and you're constantly growing over here in America. But some bands just tour to death, to the point where it's like, well, if I don't see them this time, I'll see them in 3 months when they come back. Has it watered down for some bands, the amount of touring that needs to be done to make money?
Well, in this day and age, with social media and just the internet in general, so many new markets have opened up that you can tour the world and tour so many different places that you don't have to oversaturate any given area of the world. You just have to make that step to first get out of your country and go somewhere else. And if you can do that, you're doing very well, because it's so hard to make a living as a new band these days without selling records and whatnot. Just getting up there and leaving the country is easier said than done. But if a band has that opportunity, I would suggest they do it, because it's the best way to make this a living, touring. You got to get out there and get outside your country and break new markets, because with the streaming and everything else, it's one big market.
I'm about out of time, so my last question: you're finishing out the year over in Europe and overseas, and I think Guns N' Roses is making another album, so that should keep Slash busy for a while. Will we see you back in the States next year? Do you have plans on that yet?
Yeah, we're planning all the way through the end of next year right now. So
nice.
I think we're scheduling stuff right now up to the end of next summer, and then of course we'll go back and tour through the end of the year. But right now we're getting stuff's on the books as far out as next summer, and we'll see what happens after that. But we're going to try to tour as much as we can, and who knows if Guns N' Roses keeps Slash busy, who knows what we'll do with Alter Bridge. We'll just kind of see what happens.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I love the album. I've loved everything you've done.
You.
So take care. Talk to you later.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.